I trained her, trusted her, and even called her family. But when my protégé stole my promotion, I didn't cry. I waited, until the night I destroyed her career live on national TV. Hi, my name is Helen Rhodes, and I'm 34 years old. What happened to me could happen to anyone who believes loyalty, hard work, and mentorship will always protect you in the workplace. This is my story. When Ava Sinclair first walked into our marketing firm, she looked like a deer in headlights. Fresh out of college, clutching her briefcase with white knuckles, eyes darting around our bustling office like she might bolt at any second. I saw myself in that terrified young woman and felt an instant connection. When my boss asked who could train the new hire, I volunteered immediately. I spent my lunch breaks teaching Ava client management, stayed late helping her polish presentations, and shared hard-won wisdom about navigating office politics. She absorbed everything like a sponge, calling me her work mom, and bringing me coffee every morning with genuine gratitude. I'll never forget the day she landed her first major client call. Her hands were shaking before she dialed, but I coached her through the prep. When she hung up with a signed contract, her face lit up with pure joy. "I couldn't have done this without you, Helen," she said, hugging me tight. I felt so proud, like watching a daughter succeed. Looking back, I realized she wasn't just learning my techniques, she was studying my weaknesses, cataloging my methods, preparing to use everything against me. After 8 grueling years building campaigns and relationships at the company, the director position finally opened up. I'd been the unofficial leader for months, handling the biggest clients and training new staff. Colleagues started congratulating me before the job was even officially posted. "It's yours, Helen," they'd whisper in the break room. "You've more than earned it." I practiced my acceptance speech in the bathroom mirror, imagining how I'd transform our department with fresh strategies and better work-life balance. The salary increase would finally let me move out of my cramped apartment and maybe take that vacation I'd been postponing for years. But something felt different lately. Ava had been staying after hours, not with me anymore, but in closed-door meetings with upper management. When I asked about it, she'd smile mysteriously and say she was exploring new opportunities for growth. I thought she was being proactive, maybe angling for a promotion to fill my old role. The warning signs were there, but I was too focused on my own dreams to see the nightmare she was orchestrating. Too trusting to imagine that the girl I'd nurtured was plotting to destroy me. The red flags started subtly. During client presentations, Ava began using phrases I'd taught her privately, presenting them as her own original insights. When a client praised a creative approach, she'd beam and say, "I've been developing this methodology for months." My stomach would twist, but I told myself she was just eager to prove herself. She started questioning my decisions in meetings, always with that sweet, innocent smile. "Helen, have you considered this alternative approach? I think it might be more innovative." Her suggestions were often my own ideas, tweaked just enough to sound different. The way she'd watch faces around the room, measuring reactions, calculating her next move. One afternoon, I caught her in the lobby with our biggest client, laughing intimately over coffee. When I approached, their conversation immediately shifted to weather and weekend plans. She was building relationships behind my back, slowly inserting herself into my professional network. My intuition screamed that something was wrong, but loyalty kept me silent. I'd invested too much in Ava's success to believe she'd betray me. Besides, paranoia wasn't a good look for a future director. I needed to stay professional, supportive, trusting. That blind faith nearly destroyed everything I'd worked for. The Monday that shattered my world started with an unexpected all-hands meeting. Our boss announced there'd been an accelerated decision process for the director role due to urgent strategic needs. My heart pounded as I straightened my blazer, assuming this meant good news was coming early. Then the words hit me like a physical blow. I'm thrilled to announce Ava Sinclair as our new director of strategy. The room erupted in surprised applause while my vision blurred. I heard fragments of explanation, fast-tracked application, exceptional qualifications, fresh perspective, but the ringing in my ears drowned out most details. Ava's acceptance speech was filled with phrases I'd whispered to her during late-night mentoring sessions, dreams I'd shared about transforming our department culture. She spoke about breaking free from outdated methodologies and bringing innovative thinking to traditional approaches. Every word was a knife in my back, delivered with perfect poise. I clapped mechanically, my face frozen in what I hoped looked like professional congratulations. When she looked directly at me across that room, her expression wasn't gratitude or guilt, it was pure, calculated triumph. In that moment, I finally understood that our entire relationship had been a performance, and I'd been the unwitting star of my own destruction. The celebratory office party that Friday was torture disguised as champagne and catered appetizers. I wanted to call in sick, but showing weakness wasn't an option. So I put on my best dress, painted on a smile, and walked into that room like I belonged there instead of feeling like a ghost haunting my own professional funeral. Ava gave a toast that made my skin crawl. To innovation, to change, to having the courage to embrace new leadership. Everyone raised their glasses while I forced down champagne that tasted like liquid humiliation. Then she turned toward me specifically, adding with theatrical warmth, and to Helen, for teaching me so much about what works, and what needs to evolve. People chuckled politely, unaware of how cutting her words really were. But I heard the real message. She was positioning my experience as obsolete while painting herself as the innovative future. It was masterful public relations wrapped in fake gratitude, delivered with the perfect balance of respect and dismissal. I excused myself to the bathroom and stared at my reflection, fighting back tears that would ruin more than just my makeup. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. If Ava wanted to play games, I'd learn the rules. But I wouldn't just survive, I'd win. Instead of fighting or demanding explanations, I did something that surprised everyone, including myself. I spent that weekend crafting a resignation letter, keeping it professional and brief. Monday morning, I walked into my boss's office with steady hands and placed it on his desk. I've decided I need a new chapter, I said, my voice calm despite the earthquake in my chest. He glanced up from his computer with barely concealed relief. We'll manage fine. Ava's already stepping up to handle your accounts. No surprise, no attempt to retain me, no recognition of 8 years of loyalty and results. His dismissive reaction confirmed what I'd suspected. They'd already written me off, probably weeks ago during those closed-door meetings with Ava. I was being quietly pushed out to make room for their golden girl, and my resignation just made their transition easier. As I packed my desk, Ava appeared in the doorway with that same triumphant smirk. Good luck out there, Helen. I know you'll land somewhere that's a better fit. Her concern was as fake as everything else about her, but I just smiled back and thanked her for the well wishes. Little did she know, I was already planning something that would make her regret every manipulative word. 2 weeks after leaving, I was having lunch at my usual cafe when Jake Patterson slid into the booth across from me. He was an old colleague who'd moved to a competing firm, someone I trusted to give me the real story about industry gossip. Heard about what went down with the promotion, he said quietly, glancing around like we were sharing state secrets. Pretty brutal how they handled it. Then he leaned closer and dropped information that changed everything. My buddy in corporate verification mentioned something interesting when they were doing background checks on new hires. He tried to confirm your replacement's Princeton degree for a conference bio, but the registrar's office couldn't find any record of her enrollment. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. What do you mean, no record? Jake shrugged, but his expression was serious. Could be a clerical error, name change, something innocent. But he's processed thousands of these requests, and he's never seen a complete blank like that before. I finished lunch in a daze, Jake's words echoing in my head like a drum beat. If Ava had fabricated her credentials, it would explain how a recent graduate had outmaneuvered seasoned professionals. But I needed real proof, not office gossip. As I walked home, a plan began forming, dangerous, patient, and potentially devastating. The universe works in mysterious ways. 3 days after Jake's revelation, Peterson and Associates called with an offer I couldn't refuse. They wanted me as a senior consultant for their flagship account, a position that came with autonomy, respect, and most importantly, credibility in the industry. I accepted immediately, not just for the fresh start, but for what this opportunity represented. While Ava played director at my old firm, I'd be rebuilding my reputation somewhere that valued genuine expertise over impressive-sounding backgrounds. More importantly, I'd have the professional standing to ask difficult questions when the right moment arrived. My first week at Peterson exceeded every expectation. Colleagues treated me as an equal, clients respected my insights, and leadership gave me freedom I'd never experienced. I wasn't the woman who got passed over here. I was Helen Rhodes, accomplished strategist and valuable team member. But even as I flourished in my new environment, I couldn't shake Jake's tip about Ava's questionable credentials. Every success I achieved felt hollow knowing she was enjoying rewards that might be built on lies. I needed to know the truth, not just for closure, but for justice. Sometimes the best revenge starts with simple curiosity about facts. Walking to my new office one morning, I stopped dead at a newsstand display. Ava's confident smile beamed back at me from the cover of Business Weekly, with the headline, "Young Visionaries Reshaping Tomorrow's Workplace." My hands trembled as I bought the magazine and devoured her interview over coffee. Every quote was like swallowing glass. She talked about revolutionary strategies that challenge conventional thinking and bringing academic rigor to practical applications. Half her talking points were concepts I developed and shared during our mentoring sessions, now presented as her groundbreaking innovations. The article painted her as a natural prodigy with instincts that couldn't be taught, mentioning her prestigious Ivy League education and academic excellence, without providing specific details. The journalist had clearly been charmed by her polished presentation and never dug deeper into actual credentials. Instead of pinning her picture to my wall like some obsessed villain, I carefully folded the article and tucked it into my desk drawer. Not as a shrine to hatred, but as a reminder of what I was working toward. Every morning, I'd glance at that drawer and promise myself that someday, the world would see past the glossy surface to the fraud underneath. My curiosity evolved into methodical investigation. I reached out to contacts at Princeton's alumni office, claiming I was verifying credentials for a potential industry collaboration. Professional networks thrive on informal favors, so nobody questioned my seemingly routine request. After some back and forth with university administration, the official response arrived 2 weeks later. My hands shook as I opened the registrar's letter, knowing it would either validate my suspicions or force me to abandon this path forever. The words were brief but devastating. "We have no record of an Ava Sinclair completing undergraduate or graduate studies at Princeton University during the years specified. Our enrollment databases show no student by this name in our system." I read it 5 times, checking every word, every date, every signature. There was no clerical error, no administrative oversight, no innocent explanation. Ava had built her entire career on a completely false background, using phony academic achievements to leapfrog overqualified professionals like me. The rage that flooded through me was quickly replaced by something more dangerous, crystal clear purpose. I finally understood how a recent graduate had outsmarted experienced colleagues. She hadn't been more talented, she'd been more willing to cheat. Now I had the weapon I needed. The question was when and how to use it for maximum impact. Every instinct screamed at me to expose Ava immediately. Send the letter to HR, blast it across social media, call reporters, and watch her world crumble. But something strategic held me back. Ava was flying too high right now, drunk on success and media attention. If I waited for the perfect moment, her downfall would be devastating and impossible to recover from. She was building her reputation higher every day, which meant she had further to fall. I locked the university letter in my desk drawer and focused on excelling at Peterson & Associates. Every day, I proved my worth through genuine results. Months passed while I watched Ava's star continue rising. The higher she climbed on her manufactured past, the more spectacular her crash would be. Have you ever had someone completely betray your trust like this? Someone you mentored and helped who turned around and stabbed you in the back? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. How did you handle it? Did you get your revenge, or did you take the high road? Hit that like button if you're enjoying this journey of justice, and make sure to subscribe because you won't believe how this story ends. Trust me, the payoff is going to be incredible. 6 months into my position at Peterson & Associates, I'd rebuilt my confidence and professional identity. My clients trusted my judgment, colleagues sought my input, and I finally felt like the competent leader I'd always been. But I'd still think about Ava. Not with burning rage anymore, but with cold anticipation. She was still out there building her reputation on stolen insights and phony credentials. Meanwhile, industry publications continued featuring her innovative approaches. Each new accolade made my eventual revelation more valuable. The call that changed everything came on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Sarah Martinez from CNB Business Network wanted me for their weekly panel discussion about emerging marketing trends. My heart raced as she explained the format: live television, national audience, industry leaders discussing innovation and breakthrough strategies. Then fate revealed its perfect timing. We've also invited Ava Sinclair from Sterling & Associates, Sarah continued. Actually, she recommended you as a panelist when we asked for someone to provide different perspectives. She said you'd bring valuable traditional insights to balance her forward-thinking approach. I gripped the phone, fighting to keep my voice steady while internally celebrating the beautiful irony. Ava had orchestrated her own destruction by suggesting me for the panel, probably thinking I was harmless and would make her look more impressive by comparison. After hanging up, I sat in stunned silence. The universe was delivering the perfect stage: live television, credible platform, national audience, and Ava Sinclair sitting right beside me with nowhere to hide when I revealed the truth. It was better than anything I could have planned, and she'd handed it to me herself. I pulled the university letter from my drawer and held it like a winning lottery ticket. Soon, everyone would know what I knew. But I had to be surgical in my approach. One chance, one perfect moment to end her career of lies forever. The next 3 weeks were intensive preparation. I studied every interview Ava had given, every article written about her, every claim she'd made about her background and innovative methods. I memorized her fabricated timeline and practiced my responses with my trusted friend Marcus, who warned me, "Don't look vengeful up there, Helen. Just stick to facts and let the truth do the work." I researched CNB's format, the host's interview style, and typical panel dynamics. This couldn't appear as a personal vendetta or professional jealousy. It had to look like responsible industry oversight, a concerned professional protecting the integrity of our field through fact-checking. My preparation went beyond just the credential revelation. I planned my tone, my timing, and my delivery for maximum credibility and impact. This wasn't about destroying Ava out of spite. It was about exposing fraud that undermined honest professionals everywhere. Sleep became impossible as the date approached. Every night, I'd rehearse different scenarios, imagining her reactions, anticipating her desperate defenses. But underneath the anxiety was something stronger, the quiet confidence of someone who finally held all the cards and knew exactly how to play them. The truth was on my side, and truth has a way of cutting through even the most polished lies when presented at the right moment. The night before the show, nervous energy made eating impossible. I laid out my clothes, organized my talking points, and practiced my key revelation one final time. I contacted Princeton's registrar directly, and they confirmed no record of her attendance. Simple, factual, devastating. I held the university letter in my hands, staring at those words that had haunted my dreams and fueled my patience for months. Tomorrow, this single document would destroy the career Ava had built on fraudulent credentials and stolen insights. The thought should have felt triumphant, but instead I felt strangely calm. This wasn't about revenge anymore, it was about truth and justice. About protecting other honest professionals from being betrayed by fraudsters who game the system. About proving that merit matters more than manipulation, that lies have expiration dates, and that sometimes patience delivers the most devastating justice. I placed the letter in my briefcase next to my notes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow, Ava Sinclair would learn that every deception has consequences, and hers were about to arrive in front of a national television audience. The girl who'd stolen my promotion was about to lose everything she'd built on false pretenses, and I was going to be sitting right there watching it happen. CNB's studios were intimidating, bright lights, busy technicians, the electric energy of live television production. I arrived early, checked in with production staff, and settled into the green room to review my notes one final time. My heart was racing, but my hands were perfectly steady. Then Ava walked in, and the moment I'd been waiting for finally arrived. She looked exactly like her magazine covers, polished, confident, radiating the authority that comes from. I settled on calculated assessment. "Well, I didn't expect to see you on a stage this big," she said with that familiar mix of condescension and fake friendliness. She was already positioning herself as the natural fit for national television while implying I was out of my league. I smiled warmly, channeling months of preparation into perfect composure. "Thanks for recommending me. Should be an interesting discussion about industry trends." She studied my face for clues about my intentions, but I'd practiced this moment too many times to reveal anything prematurely. The briefcase containing her professional death sentence sat calmly by my feet while we made small talk about mutual acquaintances and recent projects. She had absolutely no idea that her world was about to end on live television. The studio lights were blinding as we took our positions on the panel. Host Miranda Casey was a veteran journalist known for tough questions and compelling television, perfect for what I had planned. The other panelists were respected industry leaders whose opinions would matter when the revelation hit. Cameras rolled and the show began with standard introductions. Ava sparkled under the lights, completely in her element as she described her recent successes and vision for the future. She was performing the role she'd stolen from me with polished perfection, confident that this would be another platform for her carefully constructed persona. My turn came, and I spoke calmly about consumer engagement trends and digital strategy evolution. Professional, knowledgeable, establishing credibility for what was coming next. I noticed Ava nodding along approvingly, probably thinking this would be a typical industry discussion where we'd both look impressive and part ways cordially. The irony was beautiful. She was agreeing with insights I'd originally developed, supporting positions I'd taught her, validating expertise she'd tried to eclipse with her fake credentials. Every nod was another thread in the trap she didn't know I was weaving around her fabricated career. 25 minutes into the segment, Ava made the crucial mistake I'd been waiting for. During a discussion about innovative client relationship strategies, she interrupted me with a condescending smile that made my blood sing with anticipation. "With all due respect to Helen," she represents the traditional approach to our industry. My generation brings fresh academic rigor that doesn't get trapped by outdated conventional wisdom. Her voice carried that familiar tone of dismissive authority, positioning herself as the innovative future while painting me as the stagnant past. The studio audience murmured politely at what seemed like standard professional competition. But she'd just handed me the perfect setup for maximum devastation, positioning her supposed academic credentials as superior to my practical experience. I nodded graciously, as if accepting her criticism. Ava raises an important point about the value of strong educational foundations in our work. Academic credentials certainly shape how we approach problem solving. My calm response made her confidence grow, which was exactly what I needed. Miranda Casey sensed interesting tension developing and leaned forward with journalistic instincts. She had no idea she was about to witness the most dramatic revelation in business television history. The trap was set, and Ava had walked right into the center of it. The perfect moment arrived when Miranda asked about educational backgrounds and how academic experiences shaped our professional approaches. Ava's eyes lit up. This was her favorite topic, the foundation of her carefully constructed identity. My experience at Princeton was absolutely transformational, she began, launching into her well-rehearsed speech about academic excellence and intellectual rigor. The critical thinking frameworks I developed there give me analytical tools that traditional industry experience simply can't provide. It's the difference between reactive problem solving and strategic innovation. She glanced at me with barely concealed smugness, the implication crystal clear. Her superior education made her insights more valuable than my hands-on experience. The audience was nodding along, impressed by her prestigious credentials and articulate delivery. I reached for my briefcase with deliberate calm, giving her time to dig herself deeper into the hole she'd been excavating for months. She was so focused on her performance, so confident in her fabricated foundation, that she didn't notice me preparing to destroy her entire world. "That's fascinating, Ava," I said, my voice steady but carrying just enough weight to shift the room's attention. "I'm curious, when I contacted Princeton's registrar office directly to verify alumni information for this segment, they told me something interesting. The network confirmed their response before airing this, to avoid any legal issues." Miranda reached for the document her producers had provided, scanning the official letterhead as the studio began to quiet. Ava was still smiling confidently, having no idea what was coming. "They have no record of you ever attending Princeton University," I continued, my voice calm and factual. "No enrollment, no graduation, no student by that name in their system during the years you've claimed." The silence that followed was deafening. Ava's confident expression crumbled in real time, confusion, then panic, then desperate calculation as her brain processed what I'd just revealed. The host's eyes widened as she leaned forward to understand what was happening. That's impossible," Ava stammered, her polished composure shattering like glass. "There must be some administrative error, some database glitch. I can provide documentation, transcripts." But her voice was shaking now, the authority and confidence bleeding out with every word. Miranda Casey, sensing the biggest story of her career unfolding live, pressed the advantage. "Are you saying you never attended Princeton University? That the educational background you've been citing in interviews and professional materials is inaccurate?" Ava tried to laugh it off nervously. "This is clearly just a clerical mistake. I'll have my assistant clear this up tomorrow morning. Sometimes these verification systems have technical issues." But everyone in that studio could see the truth written across her panicked features. The cameras captured every moment, every micro-expression, every desperate attempt to maintain composure, every second of her professional death playing out in real time. What happened next exceeded my wildest expectations. The show's social media team was live tweeting the segment, and hashtags like #PrincetonGate and #FakeCredentials started trending before we even went to commercial break. The clip was being shared, screenshotted, and analyzed across every platform in real time. Ava desperately tried to recover, spinning explanations about name changes, transfer credits, and administrative mix-ups, but every word made her sound more desperate and less credible. The other panelists sat in professional embarrassment, clearly distancing themselves from someone who'd just been exposed as a fraud on national television. Miranda, now fully in investigative journalist mode, began asking follow-up questions about other aspects of Ava's background that might warrant verification. Each question was another twist of the knife, another moment of public humiliation being broadcast to millions of viewers. I sat quietly, letting the truth do its devastating work. I didn't need to pile on or gloat, the revelation spoke for itself with brutal clarity. Justice was unfolding in real time, and the whole country was watching a cautionary tale about the consequences of building a career on lies. By the time the segment ended, Ava Sinclair's reputation was in ruins, her credibility destroyed, and the clip was already going viral across the internet. The fraud who'd stolen my promotion had just lost everything on live television. The aftermath was swift and merciless. Within hours of the broadcast, Sterling and Associates announced they were launching an immediate internal investigation into the situation. By morning, they'd suspended Ava pending a complete audit of her credentials and work history. Business journalists descended on the story like predators sensing wounded prey. My phone rang constantly, reporters wanting quotes, former colleagues sharing shocked reactions, industry contacts expressing amazement at my perfectly timed revelation. I gave brief interviews, always staying professional and emphasizing the importance of integrity rather than personal satisfaction. The investigation that followed was thorough and devastating. Not only were her Princeton credentials completely fake, but several of her supposedly innovative strategies were traced back to other sources, including, prominently, concepts I developed during our mentoring sessions. She'd been stealing from everyone around her, building her entire career on borrowed insights and false achievements. Within weeks, Sterling's biggest client announced they were terminating their contract and beginning discussions with other agencies. The same account Ava had considered her crown achievement was now looking for representation that valued honesty over impressive-sounding credentials. When they called Peterson and Associates, I couldn't help but smile at the beautiful irony. Leading the campaign that had once been Ava's pride and joy felt like cosmic justice served at exactly the right temperature. The $40 million account came with challenges that showcased everything I'd learned through genuine experience, not stolen insights or phony degrees. My team at Peterson embraced the project with enthusiasm, and together we delivered results that exceeded client expectations by every metric. The campaign won industry recognition and generated the kind of authentic success that can only come from real talent, hard work, and honest achievement. Meanwhile, Ava had completely vanished from our industry. Her LinkedIn profile disappeared overnight, her scheduled speaking engagements were quietly canceled, and the business magazines that had once celebrated her now used her story as a cautionary tale about due diligence in hiring and the critical importance of credential verification. I'd proven that authentic expertise beats manufactured backgrounds every single time. The victory was complete, satisfying, and absolutely earned through patience and truth. More than personal revenge, I'd sent a clear message to other potential fraudsters that lies have consequences, and honest professionals won't stay silent forever when they discover deception. 8 months later, I was walking past the cafe where Jake had first planted the seed about Ava's questionable credentials when I spotted her sitting alone at a corner table. She looked diminished somehow, her once perfect appearance now tired and defeated, the confident woman who'd stolen my promotion replaced by someone genuinely broken. For a moment, I considered walking past without acknowledgement. The revenge was complete, justice had been served, and engaging further served no real purpose. But curiosity made me approach her table, made me look directly into the eyes of the person who tried to destroy my career with calculated betrayal. She glanced up with a mixture of recognition and shame. "Helen," she said quietly, her voice completely lacking the authority she'd once wielded so confidently. "I guess you got what you wanted." I could have been cruel, could have reminded her of every stolen idea, every moment of humiliation, every betrayal disguised as mentorship. Instead, I said something that surprised us both. What I wanted was honesty. "Maybe next time you'll try earning success instead of stealing it." As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't expected, not satisfaction or triumph, but genuine hope that she'd learned something valuable from this devastating experience. Looking back now, almost a year later, I realize Ava actually did me an enormous favor by betraying me so completely. Her theft forced me out of a comfortable but limiting situation and into an environment where my authentic talents could flourish without constraints or manipulation. At Peterson & Associates, I've achieved recognition and success that goes far beyond anything I might have accomplished in my old position. The phony credentials scandal became a watershed moment for our industry, leading to more thorough credential verification and heightened awareness about the importance of authentic expertise over impressive-sounding backgrounds. If this story hit close to home for you, if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted and mentored, I want to hear your experience in the comments below. Did you get your revenge, or did you choose a different path? How did it change you? Your stories inspire me, and I know they'll inspire others too. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this journey of justice, and subscribe for more incredible tales of karma, truth, and the moment when lies finally catch up with liars. Trust me, the stories I have coming up will absolutely blow your mind. Ava disappeared from our industry entirely, her name now whispered as a cautionary tale in hiring meetings and professional development seminars. As for me, I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't just getting even, it's becoming so successful that your betrayer becomes completely irrelevant to your story. The truth always wins eventually. It just requires patience, timing, and the courage to speak up when the perfect moment finally arrives.